Let's do it one more time. Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on cryptoforgrowmybag.tv. I hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? Sorry about that. A little bit of technical difficulties. I know what I did wrong at least. Tonight's question, who rose or what coin rose after an ETF launch today? Aster, Sol, Doge, Other. If it's Other, drop it in the comments. Yes, I need to change the lights. You are absolutely correct because it is a little bit of an up day. So we can make that green for a little bit. Would be nice if it actually changed color. That'd be cool. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So, again, one more time. What coin rose after an ETF launch today? Aster, Sol, Doge, Other. If it's Other, drop it in the comments. You know what to do. Let me switch over to live chat. That'd be a great thing. So, I'm going to have to type welcome again. That's always awesome. Here's the live. Okay. Actually, I can take that stream. There you go. And welcome. So, it was a busy day. I did shoot Max Salas in the house. What's going on? Have you invested in yourself today? So I did shoot that episode on Yahoo Finance on stocks and translation. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Loads of fun. Loads of fun. It will air tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on Yahoo Finance. So that's a good thing. Spoke about a lot of different things. Didn't get to everything that we wanted to speak about, which is why they invited me back. So that's a cool thing. So working with Jared Blickery and Brooke De Palma, they are awesome. They're awesome hosts. They really know their stuff, and I am thankful to them for having me on today. Rick Ritchie in the house. Thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself. Hope all is well with you and yours. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So a lot has gone on. I can close this. We don't need that anymore. Let me bring up my notes. So last week we learned that Ripple is, I guess, somewhat compliant with ISO 20022. What we did not get into was what is the significance of that? And we started to, but we really didn't dig in. The significance of that is that that's the compliance piece that matches up with banks. So when it comes to settlements and all that stuff, ISO 20022 is going to be the standard. Now, for cross-border transactions, all that other good stuff. So when you look at that, who are they going up against? A lot of people would say they're going up against Swift. Yeah. But what really is going on is, yes, it's going up against Swift. Not a problem. Get it. It's obvious. No biggie. What's really going on? Yes, they're going up against JP Morgan because JP Morgan wants to expand their network. Remember I told you last week that JP Morgan is connecting their Kinesis network to DBS's network, DBS Bank? Well, that would just be the first step. Obviously, they would be in talks to reach out to others. But XRP reaching the standard is saying you don't need to use their proprietary coin or their proprietary, blockchain. You can use something that everybody's already using, and here we are. That is what makes it huge. That is what makes it huge. And, with JP Morgan getting hit with a lot of things, they got hit with debanking Jack Mallers' strike. So that's a problem. That's a big time oops. Then apparently there was some kind of, why does it keep slipping under? That's not cool. That's not cute. Not sure why it's doing that. Gotta have a good collar. I think there's the wrong tab in in the collar points. I think that's what it is. No biggie. We'll fix that some other time. But one of the key problems is that, let me see. Let me just find it in my notes real quick. There was a hack, a cybersecurity breach at Citus AMC, which exposed data from JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Morgan Stanley. Rather, it may have exposed data from JP Morgan, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley. And Vitalik Buterin saying, listen, there need to be better standards. Yeah, right? Because he's basically saying, maybe you should be thinking, because there's always a data problem in the banking industry. And he's just saying, listen, there are things you can do. It should be sovereignty first. If you bought my first book, you understand what user sovereignty is. I'm not going to get into the whole definition now, but, development should be sovereignty first. And wow, that's no joke. That's absolutely no joke. And I agree. Because when you look across banking, you get different things, different, consent orders, things like that certain banks would get hit with, for the management or mismanagement of data. The problem with that is the fines that some of these banks pay don't really hurt them. It's more like, well, a lot of these fines aren't as much as what they made off of, that data breach. Not off of, but before the data breach. So it's not going to bother them until you make it bother them, is my humble opinion. So if they made 10 million, the fine should be 11. If they made 20 million, the fine should be 30. Any number above the amount of money that they made, and make it enough that it hurts. Right? Enough that, well, you're going to feel that X amount of money hit your bottom line or come off your bottom line. And you're still going to have to spend money to fix it all. And you're still going to have to do all these other things. But the fine should not be a slap on the wrist. So coming back to the point, full 360, you look, 180, you look at Ripple getting involved, and it's like, oh, okay. They're making a move in the banking industry. Now, that could be big, not just for big banks, but it could be big for smaller banks. Smaller banks don't necessarily, there are reasons why smaller banks could go out of business. But there are also reasons why smaller banks can stay in business. And it's because they don't have the problems that a lot of the problems that the big banks do. Their biggest issue is going to be liquidity. But for those smaller banks that can handle the liquidity problem, so at least solve that, they're going to have a better, they're going to have a better setup in the future, in my humble opinion. And hello, 8 Paws, how are you doing today? Now, and thank you for letting us know that you're investing in yourself. So when I look at these things, I'm kind of like, wow, XRP is making moves. They're making really, really big moves. Right? And, on the show today, I can't really talk about what we spoke about then, but I'll speak about it tomorrow. But when you look at everything that's going on, you sit back and you kind of say, what are banks doing? What are these banks doing? So you're going to introduce technology that will help you to handle settlements faster and more economically. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the bigger picture, the bigger span of things, what are you doing? What are you saying to the market? How does that help the regular person that's banking at your bank? What does that do for them? Because if you're introducing more efficient technologies, then those prices should come down, right? It's just an idea on my side. I think they should come down. Could just be me. Just saying. So there's a lot that goes on in that space. CME Group plans to launch a spot quoted XRP and Solana futures space on December 15th, reflecting institutional adoption following Solana's price surge. Right? after big drop, right? And growing altcoin ETF demand. There seems to be a big demand for it. I'm great over here. I'm great on this side. What else do we have? Thank you for asking. So, and I'm glad you're having a good day. So that's interesting as you realize that they're coming out with an XRP spot quoted, vehicle for XRP and Solana. Very interesting. CME Group is trying to make moves. Michael Burry. Not quite a big deal when it comes to... Oh, okay. I have to pay attention to some of the notes, and I have to quickly understand that they're not all for me. Sometimes they're just conversations. But Michael Burry came out, and I told you he's got shorts in the AI space. Not little ones either. Kind of big shorts in the AR space. He unregistered his hedge fund, and then he came out with a newsletter. And in that newsletter, he's kind of, just itemizing, hey, this is why I feel this way about an AI bubble. Wow. That's not a little thing. That's kind of big. Coming from that guy, that's not a small thing. That's a really big thing. And I pay attention to it because he's literally saying, Michael Burry compared the AI boom to past financial bubbles, criticizing Federal Reserve Chair Powell for overestimating AI's potential and ignoring profitability risks in his Cassandra Unchained newsletter. If you want to read about it, go to Cassandra Unchained. I understand what he's talking about, right? If implemented, I'm not going to say, well, we can say if AI was implemented differently by each company, each person, what's the business model for, an Anthropic? What's the business model for an OpenAI? What's the business model for Gemini, Grok? And that's when you start to realize, ooh, yeah, that right there makes a difference. That right there makes a difference. Because if I can run it locally, what are we really doing? I said before that the internet as we know it is undergoing a change, and there seems to be a little bit of a tug of war, so it's going to get drawn out. If AI was to win, if AI in its current form, being, that OpenAI is the biggest on the street, you could find people using ChatGPT to find whatever it is they wanted, right? Find me tongs so I can flip my burgers without poking them. That's a big deal. Don't for all those that know how to work a grill, you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know. So when you look at things like that, it's going to go out. It's going to find a couple and bring them back. How does it select which one? Is it the lowest price? Is the one that advertised more, paid more for the advertising, for the placement? What is it going to come back with? Because they're saying that people will do that instead of going to websites to go get the information. Huh. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? But on the other side, if everybody implements, like one of my best friends, like my brother, Elliot, implemented his own AI instance at his house. And he's like, oh my God, this is so much better than what I was doing. Ta-da! So if everybody goes and does that with all the machines that are coming out now that are AI capable, like have a GPU with enough memory, you can, all that, the whole thing, right? Imagine. Just let that wash over you for a minute. If you go that route, everybody's got their local AI, doing everything locally, and then going out to the internet as normal, right? Maybe hitting some Web3 stuff, but as normal. So you can see the battle between the two as you go forward. That's what I'm talking about. That's a big deal. I don't care what anybody tells you. It is a big deal. They're fighting for the future. I mentioned last week that I had read that there was a vote taken at a conference in, I think it was in San Francisco. And they were voting on, well, what AI unicorn will go out of business? What was the ranking? Perplexity number 1, OpenAI number 2. Because how do you make money? How do you sustain all the money that you're spending? How do you come through on all the deals that you're trying to cut? How do you do all that? Ta-da! There's your problem. There's your rub. And you start to realize, holy moly, that's... Okay, so 8 Paws and Rick Ritchie both get to go to the corner because they're being funny and they crack me up. But that's when you start to realize, oh, wow, what is their business model? Lex Luthor, go to the corner, man. He said, I asked Grok how to grow my bag and it beamed me here. Elon sends his regards. This community is hilarious. Oh my God. Thank you for that. I needed it. That's funny. That's funny. That's absolutely. So now we have 3 people sitting in the corner right now. We've got Rick Ritchie, we have 8 Paws, and we have Lex Luthor. Because all y'all made me laugh tonight. That's funny. It's actually really funny. So when I look at everything in the AI space, I'm sitting back and I'm like, wow. Who was it today that came out with a game? Somebody launched a regular video game that's mostly AI powered, and I can't remember the company name at the moment, but it's AI powered. And I had said this a while ago. I said, based off of what Charles Hoskinson was doing, where they ran the NPCs, they left the NPCs alone, and there was AI involved. They created their own like government and models and all that. And now here you have a game that's doing the same thing. I'm just saying that's no joke. That's no joke. It's great use of AI, can really expand the game. It really depends on how far you have it go. Like, is it generating new worlds or anything like that? Or is it like you have NPCs and they're able to interact differently with every time you interact with them, within certain parameters that you set up? But is that what it is? Like, I'm not a gamer. But I'm interested to see how that game works. I really am, because that's awesome. I reinvested and will be reallocating and adding investing more tomorrow. Thank you, Dark Horse, for answering the question. Because that means you invested in yourself. But did you actually invest in yourself today? Those are money moves, but did you actually invest in yourself today? You invested in your pockets. That counts. Don't get me wrong. That counts. But did you do this? D Bluey, what's good? Thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. So now, I'm starting to connect the dots, right? I mean, you have ISO 200 or 2022. You've got X402. X402 gives the ability the standardized ability to AI agents to pay bills. Huh. Yeah. And you start to realize, oh, we have a lot of stuff going on. Yes. That's not small. I'm looking for my pen. I actually don't know where my pen is. Oh, well, it is what it is. So, because I like to have something in my hands, because I fidget sometimes when I'm on camera. So I like to have something, because I sometimes twirl my pen around. And yep, I don't know where it is. And I blame Rick Ritchie, I blame Lex Luthor, and I blame 8 Paws. I blame all of you for making me lose out on where my pen is. Yeah, because you guys got jokes. Because all of you guys got jokes. Because you think you're funny. There it is. Got it. Ta-da! It's like I have something in my hand. So, because I can click too. Looking at all the news, I'm starting to piece together several different avenues that the future can flow into. And that's the big one for me. What are all the avenues that we're flowing into? That's mad interesting to me. I got to find a new wallet for crypto to replace Exodus. I only have my Bitcoin wallet at the moment. There's a lot of research that you can do on that. There are several wallets that are out there. No, I do not make recommendations. I use a few. Depends on what coins you need to hold. So first, whittle down your choices by what coins they can hold, and then you can go from there and figure things out. And thank you for deleting that, because one of the stories that I might as well bring it up now. Where is it? Hold on. So one of the stories that I'm going to bring up is the fact that too many people have been sharing, not necessarily in this community, but too many people in this world have been sharing how much crypto they have. I don't know if you recall, but last week I got on Hutanic about that and deleted his post. I did that personally. I didn't have one of my moderators do it. I did it because you shouldn't be out there talking about how much crypto you have. You can talk about certain moves that you might have made, like I was talking about certain moves you might have made, or I might have made, but I wasn't talking about specific numbers. There are people out there that are being stalked because other people think they actually have crypto. There have been kidnappings around the world, things like that. So the idea is don't do that. But the real story is around Grok. Not Grok, X. X had a new feature put on, and it allowed people to see where people may or may not be originating from in their accounts, and it was helping to track people down and kidnap them. And we've had there have been a couple of people that have been kidnapped, and they had to kick up their crypto. And that's why I'm saying, there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, but we shouldn't be talking about how much. That's like running around saying how much money I have in the bank. You just don't do that. First of all, I'm not loaded like that. Second of all, even if I was, that's not the conversation I would be having. I used to do security and bodyguard work for a lot of people, and I would tell them the same thing. Don't be flashy. Don't be flashy. Right? In normal settings, you're going to the grocery store. You need to wear all that bling to go to the grocery store? See what I mean? You're going to the gym. Do you need to wear all that bling to go to the gym? You know what I mean? You don't need 5-carat diamonds in your ear, and you're going to go get hot and sweaty in a yoga class. That's not what it's all about, because you want to live the normal life. That's not what you do. That's not the normal life. So it's stuff like that. Right? You want to understand. I don't mind sharing names, because names are how we actually figure it out in the community. Like I spoke about Aster, I've spoken about Polygon, I've spoken about a whole lot of different coins, but I speak about different coins every night, right? But we really want to pay attention to just not being flashy, right? I mean, these billionaires that are talking about how they're moving their money, how they're moving their value, they've got security details. And when I say they've got security details, I mean they've got some serious security details. My brother was asked to be on some of these security details. It's no joke. It's absolutely no joke. So I pay attention to those things, right? I absolutely pay attention to those things. And I don't want anybody, and you're already starting, I'm just going to delete dumb stuff from now on. So you need to understand what's going on, how it's going on. And again, not be flashy. I might talk about different coins, but I'm not talking about, how I sold all of this to get some of that. No. I'm just saying, well, yeah, I got out of this position to get into another position. This is the position I was in. This is that position. I don't really share numbers. I might share, oh, I made this percentage. But I want you guys to be careful out there. Because the reason why that story is important is because the numbers have been on an uptick. That's why it's important. That's why. Right? So pay attention to that stuff. Some people are saying Amazon's promise to spend $50 billion has helped to move the NASDAQ in a good position because they're spending $50 billion on AI investments in the United States. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, why? Because they want to give AI services to government agencies, and that's how they're going to make the investment. So that, yeah, you see how that works? They want that same opportunity that was given to Elon and Grok. The United States government spends a lot of money. And thank you, Hutanik, for letting us know that you invested in yourself. Just saying. Got you, Enrique. So it's one of those things that you just realize that, yeah, pay attention. Amazon spending all that money is not to get it. I mean, they're gonna get it back. There's a reason why they're spending that money. Was it good for the crypto market? Was it good for the stock market? Apparently so. That was part of some of the good news that happened. So sure. Absolutely. Good job. But pay attention to everything else that's going on. Strategy stock fell. And they normally buy every week. Yeah, not this week. And some people are chalking that up to their stock fell. I don't know that I would chalk it up to that. It could be. They're taking a breather. But it's also a holiday week. Well, not a holiday week. Just saying. So I want to see if they're going to buy next week. If they don't buy next week, then I'll be like, oh, okay, they're laying low for a little bit. But Bitcoin hasn't taken that much of a hit. So I'm kind of like, now's the perfect time for him to buy. So why wouldn't you? Sorry about that. So why wouldn't you? That's what I find to be crazy. I can't believe nobody's chatting on Facebook. That's crazy. But it's all right. It's all right. I have at least one person watching on Facebook. It's okay. I won't cry. It took me a long time to build up this community even to where it is. 30,000 people on YouTube. Yeah, it took a long time to get here, but we're here, and we're growing faster. No, we're not going down that joke line. We're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that at all. That's not something to joke about. What I was discussing is not something to joke about. It's serious. There's been an uptick in kidnappings, serious uptick in kidnappings. So we're not joking about that. Rumble stock surged 14% apparently after Tether increased its stake to 104.4 million shares, or about $680 million. I think we should be paying attention to Tether. I had somebody on Facebook say, well, Tether's going to go out of business. They're going to do something and all that good stuff. And, that's what we're going to do. And I'm just like, they have money to back Tether. They have money to back XAUT, their gold piece. Just like Pax G, Stitch, what are you doing? Come here. Uppy. Up. Yeah, he wants to get pet, but he doesn't want to hop up and get on camera. Knucklehead. It's my knucklehead dog. Love him to death. But it's all right. All right, that's enough. Unless you want to hop up. You want to hop up? You want Uppy? No? Okay. But you can hop up here. I'll even move the arm. Come up here. There you go. Say hello to everybody. Say hello to everybody. This is the real star of the show. This guy. He's the real star of the show. So that's a lot for Rumble. That's a big investment in Rumble by Tether. If you've noticed, Tether's been spreading around their wealth. Because they're saying, yeah, we made money, but what we want to do is we want to do more. Okay, that's enough. Oh, you went, all right. Can't tell him no. He's too cute. He's too cute. He hasn't been on camera in a long time, so now he's hamming it up. What else? What other news do we have? Because I want to go through all the news, and then we can talk about stuff. We spoke about the security breach. Revolut achieved $75 billion valuation, driven by $4 billion in revenue, 65 million customers, and Revolut is a neobank. That's what makes that a big deal. That's what makes it a big deal. All right, that's enough. Go. So that's the big deal, because it's, like I said, because it's a neobank. I keep telling you guys, big banks, they had better figure out what the hell they're doing with themselves, because this is no joke. Right? It's no joke. So I think it's a very big deal that we pay attention to how companies are spending their money, where they're spending their money, how they're spending their money, because we might get ideas. We just might get some ideas, and I think that's what's amazing. So pay attention to stuff. Revolut being a neobank. I'm not saying I bank there, because I don't. But that move is not small. That's saying that there are these smaller sets of banks that are making moves, and the big established banks, who are being lethargic, they had better start making some moves. And I don't mean, look, let's just go out and buy the competition. I don't think that game is going to work for them anymore. That huge consolidation that the financial industry went through, right? JP Morgan Chase just went out and bought freaking everybody, and everybody's buying and consolidating. That's why there are only 4 major banks in the United States. I don't know that game plan is going to work in the new world, because these smaller banks, because of technology, can do a heck of a lot more. And here's what's even better. People are looking for specific reasons to work with your bank. Specific reasons, right? I'm using this bank for this bank for this, so on and so forth. So they're being very critical about what they're doing, how they're doing it, where they're doing it. We should be paying attention. We should be paying close attention, right? We should be paying close attention to things like that. What else was there? Wow, JP Morgan is still facing controversy over performing a hit job on MicroStrategy, because it's rumored they have a short position on MicroStrategy. I almost forgot about that. Allegedly, they have a short position on strategy. And I'm sitting back and I'm saying to myself, that's probably not what I would do, unless it's in a very short time frame. Why? Because if it's in a short time frame, Bitcoin could go down, in which case you might win. But when I look at strategy, I'm kind of like, they're holding on to a boatload of Bitcoin. As it starts going up, even just a little bit, they're going to make bank. And if they can squeeze out some more money to buy now, they would make bank. Remember, what was it, last week? It was last week that we found out that Strategy's stock price was lower than the value of the Bitcoin they are holding. What? How does that happen? Oh, we all know how it happens. Well, you got algorithms and you have all that stuff that goes on. And when something goes awry, they all go awry. When something goes good, they all go good. But if it's true that JP Morgan is doing a hit job, that would not be cool. That would not be cool. Max Salish, you think there will be a pump after Ukraine conflict ends? I don't know that it's going to end. Did you see the deal that was put forward? It's the same exact deal that was put forward 2 years ago. Same deal that was put forward the last time, even before that. Same exact deal. It's a purely Russian deal. I wouldn't take it. I'd rather fight. I'd rather fight, and I would rather cause maximum damage within Russia, if that were me. I want to cause more economic strife. More economic strife. Now, eventually, do I think that the war will come to an end? And what kind of impact will be? The impact would be, I guess, positive? All that positive? I don't know. I don't know. Have you read that deal? Russia does not want to be held accountable for anything. I can't believe we actually handed that over to Ukraine. That has economic impacts. It has massive economic impacts. Right? Because if the war comes to an end, Russia's oil could wind up coming back on the market, driving oil prices down. That great for the United States? Not necessarily so, right? Because a lot of oil companies have pulled back on doing what they're doing here because the money's not there for them. They'd rather hold back and wait. Oh my God, Rick Ritchie, for real. Venezuela is still a thing. Venezuela is still a thing. Now, I don't want to be political, but I want you to pay attention to all of these massive eye grabbers that are going on. Look over here because we don't want you to look over here. We'll look over here because we don't want you to look at that. We only want you to look at this. Oh, while you're at it, look at that too and look at that. We don't want you looking at this. I mean, I told you the other day how, while we were looking over here at something, they went and they said, well, these professions are no longer considered professional. What? Who does that hurt? They're saying nurses, that's not a profession. I want you to go back in your head a little bit and think about that. Nursing is not a profession. Social work is not a profession. They have so many different things that are not professions. And what were they attacked? There are two specific things that were attacked. And I'm talking about this because it is a huge impact on our future economy. Because what's going to wind up happening is if they're not considered professional careers, these people lose the ability to go after those careers because they won't have money. They won't be able to take out loans. There'll be a maximum amount of loans that they'll be able to take out to go after that career. And so you'd have people turn away from nursing, turn away from social work, turn away from all these other things that are no longer considered professions. Hold that thought. So that's one. Two, it also means that if those professions aren't there, there's nobody to report on abuse. All of the jobs, all of the careers that they said are no longer professions have another thing in common, and it's the fact that people in those positions must mandatorily, report abuse. That's right. If an educator suspects abuse, they have to call the police. They have to call the proper authorities. Same thing for nurse practitioners. Same thing for social workers. Same thing for all of the professions that they enumerated. And I want you to think about the word abuse and what it encompasses. So if we don't have people going into those professions, doesn't it hurt us economically? It directly affects healthcare, right? Both mental and physical healthcare. Nurse practitioners in some states are equivalent to doctors. I have two friends right here in New York that have been nurse practitioners for like decades. They are considered doctors in this state. They can write prescriptions. Yeah. And in a time right now where our country needs nurses and doctors and everybody else in the healthcare and supportive roles in that space. Oh, and let's not forget about teachers, so educators too. So play that down the road and you tell me if that's not a hit on our economy, both now and later. I have a huge fear over that, let alone Venezuela, still insurance, still tariffs, still healthcare, still other imports, still our national, standing in the globe. And again, whatever problems we have in the United States economically permeates out to the rest of the world and vice versa. That is a problem and a half. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. It's no joke. Ukraine is not irrelevant to crypto prices. I can tell you that now. Ukraine and Russia move a lot of crypto. Russia's been using alternative dexes and sexes to play in crypto. Ukraine has been accepting crypto donations and using crypto to pay bills. They've been doing a lot with crypto. It does have an effect on crypto. Don't be fooled. So again, this is not a political conversation. It is a conversation on what could affect our economy. So there are political moves that can affect our economy and affect our bags. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about those things specifically. That's not what I mean. I mean the chances of those things being drawn out. So looking at Ukraine peace deal, that's being drawn out. You have Israel, Hamas, that's being drawn out. Why? Well, don't know why. Political stuff, but it's being drawn out. That's another problem that we have. What's another thing that we're looking into? Nigeria. So there are a lot of political moves that are being made that can affect, not even can, would affect our global standing economically, right? As well as direct economic impact. War is never good. I missed a comment by you, Hutanic. Hold on. Yep. War is inevitable according to history, except that maybe we don't need a global war. We don't need that. And Venezuela has a potential of doing that. It does have a potential of doing that. Right? So it is a problem. It's an economic problem. Another economic problem could be, with everything that's going on around the world, does China get the signal that, hey, now could be a good time to go after Taiwan? And there lies the problem. What happens in Taiwan? It's where all the chips are made. That becomes a massive problem. Now you understand why they want to move, or at least create new facilities for chip manufacturing. That would be a global problem. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we should think about. So when I think about what, we're looking for in terms of impacts, I keep that list of risks and I keep a list of opportunities. Sadly, right now, my list of risks far outweigh my list of opportunities. What's on my list of opportunities? Okay, we have a whole bunch of ETFs that are coming. We can't even count on a rate decrease in December. What other good news do we have? We're expecting more job cuts first thing next year. First thing. So what does that have? What does that do for us? What does that do for us? And there lies the problem. And mind you, something that happens I'm totally DCing the dips. Thank you for that, Rick Ritchie. I see you. totally DCAing the dips. Am I adding extra? No. I'm still sprinkle, but I'm not adding anything extra. And a lot of people look at me cross-eyed as, why aren't you adding anything extra? Well, what are the problems that you see? And I went into this yesterday. Some of the problems that I see is there are a lot of businesses out there that are going to have problems. There are a lot of homeowners that are going to have problems. There's a lot of commercial real estate that are going to have problems. So if I have enough money, enough dry powder on the side, I might be able to diversify and grab a business and or property and diversify my holdings. And by grabbing them at the right time, at the right price, because they're saying, oh, prices are going up for homes and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. Right? But the difference is going to be that there are so many other things that are going on that I might be able to negotiate good prices and negotiate those prices down. Right now, there are too many businesses out there that literally they're just going to have to close the doors. They don't have kids that want to take over the business. They're asking for too much money, so nobody wants to buy it, or everybody that wants to buy it can't come up with the money. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So what I'm looking at right now is, what is everybody else doing? If your bags are under, it might be a good idea to DCA to bring your risk down. Yep. Depends. It depends. But for me, I'm not putting extra into my dollar cost extra strategy because I have an overarching strategy. For me personally, I have an overarching strategy that says, if I can wait, if I can hold on, I might be able to put that money to work someplace else and diversify my holdings, which is something I really want to do. Right? Because if I'm able to get into real estate, get into good pricing on real estate, well, that's something that I can manage. That's something that I can actually hand down to the kids, right? If I can buy a couple of businesses and I can cut costs because I don't need your accountant. I have Christy Nicholas. So I don't need your accountant. I don't need your bookkeeper because we've got that. So by that alone, I'm cutting costs, right? And that's more money that goes straight to the bottom line. So there are reasons why I'm looking at certain things. D. Mack in his house, have you invested in yourself, young man? I know the answer. I just like hearing it. I like seeing it. I like knowing for sure, right? But yeah, how prices are coming down. Thank you for letting us know that you're investing in yourself. The prices are coming down. Interest rates might not be, but I'm not so much worried about interest rates because my equation says if I can buy that property and I can be in the black right now, when interest rates go down, I'm just more in the black. If I'm not in the black from the second I buy a property, I don't buy that property. This is very simple math. And I'm looking at all of the costs, including risk money that's on the side. This might break, that might break, this might break, that might break, this might break, that might break. You have to have your risk budget. And it'll take time before you get there. So you've got to have on your team good people. If you're getting into real estate, you need to have good people on your team. I have good people on my team that can tell me about the boiler, tell me about the plumbing, tell me about the electrical. We can go into how old the building is and all that good stuff, or how old the house is, all that good stuff, figure out what's going on. Look at the area that it's in, the kind of people that are living there. Are you doing Section 8? Are you not doing Section 8? What are the things that you're doing so that you can figure things out? Run the numbers. Run the numbers. Do your own research. Know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. I won't flinch. I'll just be like, well, that's not a deal for me. If I can't clearly see a path to black the second I sign the paperwork, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm making money where my money is right now. And if a deal doesn't work out, I'll just maneuver that value into other places. Got to do what you got to do. Because I keep telling you guys, we're going to have to invest just to survive. So I'm trying not to buy extra. I'm trying not to buy stuff. Stuff that, oh, that would be nice to have. Do I need it? No? All right, keep it moving. Keep it moving. Again, I'm not living for my first name. I'm living for my last name. So it's not about me having. It's not about me getting. It's about my kids having. About my kids getting. Because my fear is that most people don't think next generation. They think about survival skills here and not next generation survival skills. I want to be able to look at my grandkids and go, okay, we've got a plan for you. We've got something so you can carry on. We've got something that'll elevate you so you have a better chance of doing well. Now you know why I make these videos. It's not just for my kids. It's for everybody down the line. It's a way of thinking. You don't have to do what grandpa did or great grandpa did or dad did, but you should listen to the lesson. Because grandpa's been through a lot. He's seen a lot. He's felt a lot. He had to do a lot. More than most. Sadly, more than most. So yeah, take the lessons that you can get. My son, my oldest son, he's a little hard-headed, love him to death, but he can be a little hard-headed. Sometimes he doesn't like to accept help. Is what it is. You figure it out. But it's only because, he's trying to make it happen. He's working hard to try to make it happen. But this is my way of letting him know, I see you. All my kids work hard, but my son's going through it right now. Right? He's the businessman. He's going through it right now. He's feeling it. And I'm just letting him know, I see you. Daddy's here to help. Overarching strategy sounds like a good phrase to add to my dialogue. Dude, I have a strategy for crypto. You hear me say it all the time. Stocks, bonds, options, crypto, business, real estate. Right? I say all those things all the time because those are the areas that I'm interested in. That's the space that I'm interested in. Some more than others, right? So I have a specific plan for each one of these areas. But then I have an overarching plan, and that overarching plan says I only want to have this percentage here, this percentage here, you see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. That's why I have an overarching plan. And I try to get my kids to understand that overarching plan. One thing all my kids know, start saving now while you're young. It'll make a huge difference when you're ancient like dad. You'll be like, oh, wow. And you'll be in a far better position than dad. Isn't that my job? My job is to push you up. Your job is to push your kids up. So on and so forth across all the generations. That's our job. So I try to learn as much as I can. And I try to pass that along as much as I can. Listen, Hutanic, not everybody's good at short-term trades. Not everybody's good at long-term trades. They can't see that long game. So they focus on the short. You focus to what your advantage is, not your disadvantage. So I can respect that. I absolutely respect that. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, drop a note, say hello. It doesn't hurt. Subscribe to the channel. And if you can, become a member. We've got big things coming this week. Big baggers, I advise you to go take a look at the website. We've got things coming along that you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, oh man, this should go live already. And we're like that close. We're doing little things like, showing you X number results. Yeah, for a search that you've performed. both on articles and videos. We're giving you a feed. We're about to turn on DMs. Like, yeah, we already have DMs working, but we're about to turn it on live on the site so that you guys can see it actually working. All that good stuff. We got minor tweaks here and there. We might just launch the site and just let everybody know, hey, we got minor tweaks going, coming in, fixing this, tweaking that, da-da-da-da. That's the plan. But before I go, who rose after an ETF launch today? Aster, Sol, Doge, Other. 13 votes. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let me see if I can find my notes. XRP rose 9% following the debut of the Franklin Templeton XRP ETF, XRPZ. Yeah, that was a thing. Ripple is on a huge upswing. Huge upswing. Remember when I told you guys that one of the reasons why I'm not worried about the digital asset space is because the rails are in, the infrastructure is there. So all the additional elements, and now we're really building. That's why I have no fear. People need to move value around this tiny blue marble. Used to be a big blue marble. It's a tiny blue marble now. That's why. Everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely, as always, thank you for your trust. Me and my team will fight for that every day. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a chance, hit it live, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Stocks in Translation. I'm on tomorrow's episode. Everybody, thank you very much. And yes, you'll be able to see it after that too. And I'll be having certain clips on our site. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.